the three of us are flying together, Benzi, you, and myself. We get on the plane, we have a great trip, stop off in, where do we stop off on the way? We stop off in Rome.
Rome for like an hour and a half.
For like an hour and a half. We get to New York and go. Tell us what happened. Share it with us.
Chaim picked us up.
Mm-hmm.
And we get in the car, and none of us has any clue where we're going because we're just like out to lunch after all that flight.
Yeah.
And we end up in traffic going the wrong way, and sun's setting, and I'm like, it's time to daven mincha. Maybe you should daven mincha. And Chaim goes, hey, we're right near the Rebbe's Ohel. Let's go. You guys want to go? And we were all like, heck yeah. We want to go.
I haven't been there. I'd never been there before.
I had never been there before.
Yeah, this was something cool. It's funny because I didn't grow up going to Tzaddikim. We didn't grow up going to Tzaddikim. And even when I lived in Muncie, I was by the Rebbe all the time. And the Rebbe's Ohel was something that was always like out there. I mean, I think also I was a little bit scared off by Chabad. In my life.
I remember being a kid and we got Sivos Hashem in the mail or something and we had to get rid of it.
Right.
I never knew why.
Yeah, Chabad was just a little, it was just, I didn't know what to do with it. And then slowly over the years, you get to get opened up, you meet people, human beings, but it's amazing that like, that relationship that I had with Chabad. But I'd really been looking forward to going to the Rebbe for a while. I love going to kivrei Tzaddikim. I know you do too. We've had a lot of fun at kivrei Tzaddikim.
And that's a whole other story.
We'll get into that. Yeah, we should probably do like an hour or two on that. But going to the Rebbe's Ohel was it was something that I wanted to do. I think for me also it was a lot of like, I don't even know what I'm doing for the next week and a half. Let's get off the plane. Let's go hit something good. Let's make it real. Let me find someone to guide myself, to channel it, to bring this experience down. And so we went straight to the Rebbe.
Yeah, so in a lot of ways it was cool because it was a soft landing. Instead of coming straight into America and feeling all out of sorts, it was like Tzaddikim are mamish, Eretz Yisrael. Wherever you go, Tzaddikim are, it's that same comfort zone for me. I know it's for you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I definitely want to go to a tzaddik. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe was special because I also had never been there. It was also a similar experience of over the years opening up to Chabad. And once you start reading the stories about the Rebbe and hearing people who had connection with him, and it's completely amazing. So it was very exciting to go there. And it was a unique experience. Even among kivrei Tzaddikim, and we've been to a lot of kivrei Tzaddikim together, but this is a completely new experience.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. You got to take off your shoes, and there's a whole system.
There's all these rules. I was giving us all the rules. So like, I've been to a lot of kivrei Tzaddikim, and I'm like, and everyone is their own trip.
There are rules. I mean, you just used to them. You've been there for a while. Every night when you got to go and you got to go to the mikvah and the food that's not taking place. That's like serious rules.
Right,
also.
That's true.
And then there's also that. Then you start getting serious. They start having, the Bidui Devarim, and you got to start speaking things out, and you have a Zbododos, and you're allowed to talk to Tzaddikim, not talk to Tzaddikim. So here also there were rules.
That's true, but over there it's like more like advice. Like, here, this is something you could do. A lot of people just go in there. I'm saying there's a lot of different experiences. Over here felt like it was kind of stricter. I feel like in Chabad in general, they have like, this is the way you do it in Chabad. This is how it's done. That like Breslov is a lot more like everyone can find their own way, and Rabbi Nachman was for everybody and like their own way. And you have all these different dudes that have their own trip. In Chabad, it's like, this is how we do it in Chabad.
Yeah, I hear that. I kind of feel, listen, when we got there, we bumped into a couple other people that we knew, and they were just chilling. They're like, yeah, we just come here, get a coffee, chill for a few minutes, catch a mincha, catch a mara.
Right.
I think that, I mean, I don't know, and the truth is I really don't know enough. Like, I'm definitely not someone who can say, like, what happens or doesn't happen by Chabad, but it seemed also just that maybe we were more outsiders. I think that people, the first time they come to Uman, it's also something that's like, oh, you got to do this. It's a whole thing. I mean, think about, let's say, the people.
Right, but other places aren't the same. Sorry to interrupt you. Other places are not. I mean, tons of kivrei Tzaddikim, and most people don't really know what to do about kivrei Tzaddikim.
Right.
But there's tons of kivrei tzaddikim where you just roll up and do your thing, whatever it is. Whereas I guess by Rebbe Nachman and by the Lubavitcher Rebbe there's more of a prescription.
Do you think that any other places that have more of a prescription? I mean, so let's say the kotel, you go and you put a note in the wall, right? And even though maybe
kiss the wall,
you kiss the wall, you put a note in the wall.
You walk backwards.
Right, you gotta walk backwards.
All these rules, but that's not
Marasa Machpelah. But
kotel is kind of a kivrei.
It's a kivrei of the base of Mikdash.
Yeah, right. It is a kivrei.
And it's
I never thought of it that way before. It's really cool.
I have to say, because I had this funny experience that last week a friend of mine reached out to me and he goes, "Dude, I really want to go to kivrei tzaddikim and like we gotta go daven and whatever." And I was like, "Okay, great. I'll go with you. I'll take a day off. I'll go with you." And I'm like, "There's no way I could take a day off. I'm so busy. Like, what did I even just commit to?" And then I'm like, "Well, maybe there's a kivrei we could go close to here. There's farm everywhere." And I'm like, done Ben Yaakov. I haven't been there in a while, but it's not the energy I'm looking for. And the Shimshon, not the energy I'm looking for. Like, what else? We go to Marasa Machpelah. Not sure exactly what the security situation is right now. Maybe we should go. Maybe we shouldn't. But that would be a great move. Maybe to go out there. It's like being by Marasa Machpelah is so grounding. On the other hand, maybe kivrei Rachel. And then I was like, what am I thinking? Let's go to the Kotel. Like, and it was funny that like it even made me think so much. I feel a little foolish that I was like, it took me that long to be like, oh, let's go to the Kotel. But it was so amazing. And the truth is that the Kotel really is. It's an incredible Makom Kedusha. But once again, there's some set of rules over there.
There's rules, but there's no rules by the Marasa Machpelah, right? You roll in and everyone does their thing. There's no rules by kivrei Rachel.
Right. Well, they do have something, right? They do something with walking around the thing, and they put the red bands.
Yeah, but nowadays you can't even walk around it because there's a women's section, and it's like very rigid. Used to be, I think, more.
Something about that. I never did that.
I don't think there's any rules by Rebbe Shimon.
Right. Rebbe Shimon, I guess also even like Roma, there's no real rules.
No.
Just go in there, you do your
Everyone
thing.
does their thing.
Right. Okay, so I guess it's really Breslov and Chabad. They had to make rules out of it. These two outliers.
Right. By the Baal Shem Tov, there's no rules.
No, definitely no. But I believe Yitzchak, there's like songs up on the wall that he wrote.
People do things. You see, I mean, even by Rebbe Shimon, they put a tefillah on the wall, they put this on the wall. But...
You know who else has rules? Reb Shayla from Karastir. And that was actually, I went this year before Rosh Hashanah, which is the first time I ever made it to Reb Shayla. And that was a trip because I'm used to Quorum and I love dead Tzaddikim. I even love dead regular people. Like I like going to Quorum.
Dead Tzaddik Society.
That's right. That was the name of our trip. But so when I went to Reb Shayla and we get there and they're like, okay, we're having a Suda. And I'm like, we're here for an hour. Like, what are we doing? Like, no. The main tikkun by Reb Shayla in Hungary is all about eating food, and and they're very serious about it.
Is that an old rule or a new rule?
I don't know, but they say that the tikkun is more in his house eating food there than going to the kivrei and davening. And it's interesting is that personally the transformation, like I felt much more of a powerful experience, even though I went in and I was like, okay, I'm going to be Yotze, and I just quickly washed, ate, benched, jumped into the mikvah, and then ran up the hill to get to the kivrei. But it was like this, it wasn't the type of, it was interesting. It was very different.
I'm curious. We're going to have to research this and see like if there's an old rule or a new rule. Because I'll tell you what, it reminds me
Jamie, you want to look that up?
I'll tell you
see how many of you guys get that one, huh?
Can I get a refill?
Sure.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that's enough.
Need more ice?
No, we're good. It reminds me of It reminds me of something I heard. I remember hearing that the tikkun, according to the Rizal, the tikkun of Lag BaOmer by Reb Shimon. So here's some rules by Reb Shimon, that the main tikkun over there is eating also. main tikkun is to come and make brachas.
Really?
Yeah.
That is very interesting because I actually bumped into some people that, like the old Sephardi Chevra that used to go there. It was like a 2-3 week celebration, where they're all getting together, they're sitting there, they're moving up there with their families, tents, the whole shebang. And that's really cool. So I'll tell you, I guess I did do that a little bit. Let me tell you a story.
All right.
So when I was in there, Jake, Yaakov,
Jake.
That's right. So you remember, right? You were there. You were there with me. So we went up. I think every year that I was there, we did Lag Bomer by Rebbe Shimon. But we went up early. We went up like a couple days before and camped out, a bunch of guys.
Guys from Ner
Yaakov. We had a Ner Yaakov compound. I'm trying to remember exactly who was there each year. It was a lot of fun. I remember one year, I had one of my friends. His father was, I think, a butcher, and he came up with a lot of meat. Anyhow, we just sat there. We just had like 3-4 tents, and then because we were there, other people just camped out around us, and we just had an amazing campsite. We were there, we just pounding meat for like 2-3 days, just eating tons of food, and that was amazing. Like we were talking, like grilling, and you just like literally taking off these enormous steaks and just passing them around, like Chicago style. And it was just an amazing experience. And then we went from there to Tzfat. I remember just showering off, just the amount of dirt. But then also, I think that Lag Bomer itself, we weren't inside. It was just a lot of like kivrei, connecting. And over there, it was over the food. I remember eating a lot of food, and it was a very powerful experience. Shimon is amazing. And definitely when you're there longer, there's also a lot of eating that goes on, right? You go in there, and you go up.
Every time you go there,
like
crazy
the Kudakova, Sender Breyer's, zone over there is like, that's where you go. You sit and you eat and you verbreng and you schmooze. See, for me, it's like Reb Shimon is a big stichas chaverim, like Uman.
Yeah, major.
A lot of it's talking and connecting and really like, I think we've spoken about this a lot. Like Rabbi Nachman, a lot of the tikkun is almost like when you're having that diburim, you become part of the tzaddik, your friend is part of the tzaddik, like you're part of this crazy experience where you're just part of something more, and you're like playing out these crazy stories and conversations, and it does a deep tikkun on you. Yeah. And Baruch Shimon also, I guess by other tzaddikim, I don't know if I've spent like days by any other tzaddik other than those two.
Or major gatherings.
That
extend over periods of time. I mean, I spent, oh my butt, I must have told the story 100 times, but I spent one time like 4 days at the Baal Shem Tov. That was awesome.
Wow.
There's only a few people there every day. There was like a few people came in and out.
4 days at the Baal Shem Tov?
Well, 4 days. Sunday night to Wednesday afternoon. So that's like close to 4 days.
Wow.
That was... But we're getting way off topics because we were at the Lubavitcher Rebbe's caver.
That's
cool. The Ohel, how do you say it? And I always follow the conversation full circle.
Good man. I think one of us has to do that, right?
So the Ohel.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the rules at the Ohel. And maybe it's just my experience there because I went in and I was like, Chaim was telling us, you got to write a letter, and then you have to go in and you read the letter and you rip up the letter and you throw it in. And I was kind of like feeling that I didn't want to be pressured to do anything. Like, let me do my thing. I just want to feel it out. I like feeling things out of kivrei tzaddikim. Right. But it was, nope, this is how we do it. And then you and Benzi also are like, no, Yaakov, you should do that void. This is that void here.
Right.
I was like, all right, fine.
Well, I love rules. I love being told what I need to do because it gives me direction and focus. And then from in there, even though I have learned from you about going to kivrei tzaddikim and opening up, and that's definitely, I think, a huge thing. Maybe you should even take a minute just to tell people what that is.
Right. So what I usually like to do by kivrei tzaddikim is kind of stop. And instead of having a plan of what I'm going to do there and rules of what I'm going to do there, I just want to walk in and I want to feel what's happening. Just ground myself and open up to whatever is coming at me, whatever feelings rise up, whatever thoughts rise up, and just feel them and hear them. Because we believe very strongly that not just believe, but we've experienced that the neshama of the tzaddik is there.
And said it. He said,
right,
hey, it's like I'm going to the next room.
Right, so he's there, and like the Rizal talks about the nefesh is over the kivrei, and the ruach fills the whole ohel. Where's the neshama? I don't remember the details. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. But regardless, I know that the whole ohel is filled with the soul of the tzaddik. So when you go there, kind of want to, instead of assuming that I know what to do or having in mind a certain thing that I plan, or I need to daven about a certain thing, I'm going to come and open myself up to try to experience as much as I can what's going on here and let it come to me instead of pushing myself on it. And I've had amazing experiences, so many places, Kever and the Baal Shem Tov, and so many places where you go and you let it come to you. And I've had friends even, I've told friends about this, and it changed their experience of going to Kvarim, where they went, and instead of having their little list of what they want to get out of the experience, it was more, I'm going to come to the tzaddik and let them affect me, let them give me what they want to give me.
Yeah, I definitely have learned this from you, and you've been my guide for many trips to Uman and the many other Kvarim. I mean, remember, we spent many trips by Reb Shimon. Many trips together by Reb Shimon. We've been to Uman, over 10 times together. I think we each had maybe 1 year that we were there without the other.
Yeah, I think one time,
but every other time we were there with each other. And you've only been there for Rosh Hashanah, right?
Right.
And me too, only there for Rosh Hashanah. That's a trip. People will tell me all the time, you gotta go another time. But I definitely have opened that up. Like that experience of being able to walk into a place, not have the rules, and just open up on what is really happening here. What's the energy of this place? I mean, this is real. I mean, I think that we can go back to the Ran, who writes about like the fact that the tzaddik imbues and he becomes a channel for a revelation of Hashem in this world. And it really, it changes the reality of nature. And even after a tzaddik passes away, that, like you said, the nefesh is still there. The body is still a merkava.
The Ran says it so strongly. He says the very bones of the tzaddik that in his lifetime attained such greatness still serve as a channel to attain higher levels of veikos and
it's really about experiencing Hashem. Nobody, and that's all the tzaddikim really want. And then just the more they were able to open up, and that's really what it is. Like I totally, when you're there by the tzaddikim, and that's why it's such a different experience for each person, and each person by different kvarim. But that being said, I will say I do like the rules. I like going there. I like having an avodah. It gives me a way to channel and a way to focus to experience. Like going there, I know, okay, this is now going to be the vessel for how I'm going to be open up to this experience of being by the oil of the Rebbe. And I'm going to do it, and then, but through that, I open up as well. I think for me also, I was like, you kind of like half asleep in like that, not half asleep, but kind of like in like somewhat of a drowsy, surreal kind of place.
Dream state.
Yeah, because we traveled so many hours with the stopover, and then just going there, and it's like, wow, it's the first time I'm ever here, and like, hi, getting to see my brother I haven't seen in a long time, and we're all together. Like that also, that experience, we didn't even get into talking about how awesome it was being together on the trip. That's all. It was just awesome. Like getting in, we don't on a regular basis get to spend this time together. And but then going there and being by the Rebbe's all. So I enjoyed it. But tell me more about what your experience was like.
So once I realized that if my trip and what works for me by kivrei tzaddikim is opening up and letting it come to me, so here my brothers were telling me, this is what you got to do. So fine, that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do.
Right. I guess we both experienced a little bit of each other.
Nice. So sometimes tzaddikim speak through your friends, like you were saying before. Like you come to Uman and you have the connection. So, my tzaddikim are my brothers. So, the tzaddikim speak through the channels that are given to them. So we did sit. First of all, walking in and just seeing, you knew there was going to be Israeli yeshiva, like Chabad yeshiva guys there. Just walking in and you're hearing a little Hebrew, it's like right away, all right, I'm home. I'm still in Israel a little bit, and then we davened Marav. Then we had a cup of coffee. We had some cookies. We relaxed a little, and then we came into the room where. So outside,
I think we davened mincha.
Right, mincha.
And we did Marav after.
Okay.
Right.
Right, davened mincha. All right, but details. So when we came, there's this room before you go to the Ohel, which is this. There's the street, this main street, tons of police presence. And you have these buildings that Chabad built at the edge of the cemetery, and behind the buildings is this whole cemetery, and you walk out down the path to go to the Ohel in the middle of the cemetery. So in this room, before the cemetery, these tables with papers and pens for you to sit down and write your letter. And that's what it was. You're supposed to write a letter to the Rebbe, and then take the letter, go to the Ohel, read the letter, and then tear it up and throw it out. So it was a new experience, and I love new experiences.
Yes.
Always fun to try something new, and it was cool. I wrote the letter, double-sided, filled up both sides of the page, and then went out to the Ohel. And there was this whole thing about you're not supposed to wear shoes, and I never heard a thing about not wearing shoes at a kever before. And there was a whole rack full of Crocs, and it was freezing cold outside.
Yeah, they had those warmers. On top.
Right, it was also like a little bit drizzly and wet. And I was like, I'm not taking my shoes off. I hope I'm forgiven for this terrible sin.
Oh, you didn't take them off?
I did not take my shoes off.
Rule breaker.
I couldn't go with all the rules, you know that. It's too much, too constricting. Yeah. So I wore my shoes. I'm sorry, but I did go and read my letter out and throw it in. It was really cool. It's for those who haven't been at the Ohel before. It's the Friedrich Rebbe, the Rebbe's father-in-law, and the Rebbe are buried side by side, and you have the two tombstones. They're surrounded by, I guess, about a waist-high concrete wall, and surrounding that is a little room to walk around, and then walls that are ceiling height surrounding the two kvarim. Right, but there's no roof. So you're open to the sky, but there's these big heaters for the winter, big warmers. So it's an interesting vibe.
Yeah, definitely a very unusual and interesting vibe. And it was an interesting experience. So just to give you an idea of my experience. So first of all, also, like you said, there's a couple actually of rooms over there. First of all, I wanted to hit the mikvah. Like I like hitting the mikvah. It's a way of me just like letting go of everything that's going on.
It's so funny because I didn't even think of a mikvah.
No, I remember I was asking about it. I was like, he's like, yeah, there is a mikvah, but like, I guess we just didn't have. I don't know what was going on. It didn't happen. But
the dream zone.
Right. So then in the outside room, there's also a room where we have like Rebbe videos 24/7,
right.
And I love Rebbe videos, especially a couple times when I'm flying solo. So in Israel, there's like a Chabad room in Tel Aviv from Ben Gurion. And it's a great spot to go. You go in there, it's like usually pretty quiet. You grab a coffee, and there's a Rebbe video to keep you company.
Right, it's like a safe zone at the airport.
Exactly, it's very safe. It's very like you don't have to worry about anything. It's like, okay, I'm through security. What am I doing now? Okay, I'm gonna sit and listen to and watch the Rebbe a little bit. And he always has something good. He's always saying good stuff, And so we go in there, and he was talking about something. And saying about how it was a good thing, but I have no idea what he was talking about. I stood there for like 4 minutes. You guys all passed through, and I was like so excited. I'm like, what am I gonna hear my first time by the Rebbe? And it was just like, and it's good, and this is it, and it was like this whole thing, and I missed the point. And then
he was just saying the superlatives, right? You missed them.
It was the superlatives at the end of like a sicha, and it was like the weirdest feeling. So then like it ended. I'm like, I guess I missed it. And then I was like, oh, maybe that was the message, but it didn't make any sense to me. So I just continued through, and I liked the idea of sitting down and writing. And even on the plane, I actually had spent some good time writing, just preparing myself for the trip. And it was a good way to do a spotus on the plane because I couldn't talk out loud. I wasn't comfortable for that, but being able to just write in my journal. And so I was like, oh, should I just take that? Because that was, I was like, no, just write something new now. So I sat down, and it was, but it was a weird experience. I didn't feel like I was open and flowing. the way that I do by many kfarim, where I'm just open and you're just kind of like, it's almost like a buzz. But then we went out there, I took off the shoes, we went out there, and it was,
You did the real deal.
yeah,
You went all the way.
I do what I'm told.
You're a real Chabadsker now.
Now, listen, I do what I'm told. When you get to the car, I like the experience. I like knowing what I'm supposed to do. I can feel good about
Like,
it.
okay, when I go into the mosque, I take my shoes off.
Let's see. Speaking of, actually, we came across a very interesting right after you asked about that, which is about like any time that there's a place of hashras, hashchina, or basically, no, he was saying more is that shoes are man-made. It's the beginning. You know that even a person's always supposed to like wear shoes. That the Gemara even says a person should sell everything he has to have a good pair of shoes. Very interesting chazals. That's a great conversation to talk about shoes. Right? Right. Shoes is a very interesting thing. We make a bracha on shoes.
The Gemara is not into dirty hippies barefoot. Right. Not into it at all.
Well, but even though remember there is a story in kindness about Tzaddik, when he was walking, he took off his shoes when he went into water because he didn't want them, because he didn't know what he would step on. He didn't want them to rip. Said, my feet. He rolled up his pants, so my feet can regrow. My pants, my shoes, they can't. So he would take them off to walk. I remember,
right. But that was to save the shoes.
That was to save the shoes, exactly.
Right. So the shoes were.
Right. And remember the story with Moishelah when he's on the way to really Melech. He throws his shoes over his shoulder.
I don't remember.
Anyhow, I'll have to tell you that story, but another time. But that anyhow, we see there's very interesting things about shoes. But one of the things about shoes is that they're man-made, and they're there for tikkun, and they're there to separate us from the earth. The earth was cursed with the curse of Adam Rishon, and when you put on shoes to separate from that tumah, but any place that it's kedusha, where there is tikkun already on the ground, where it's a place of alignment, where the earth is no longer in a state of bringing up thorns and all the issues of the Chet Adam Rishon, where we caused it. We take off our shoes to show, look, we're connecting back down, and that's really what Hashem told Moshe, right? Take your shoes off, Moses.
You're on holy ground.
You're on holy ground.
You're on holy ground.
And that's where it is. It's to reconnect, to re-get that.
Right. It makes Mikdash no shoes.
It's Mikdash no shoes, and
you want to know the funniest thing that just happened to me?
Shoes, yeah.
Yom Kippur no shoes. But that might be different. Yom Kippur, it's more of an Inyan of Inui.
No, so over there, so the Bnei Yisachar actually brought that down. He said Yom Kippur no shoes, and he said
deeper reason.
Exactly. And even Tisha B'Av, he tied in Tisha B'Av as well, not just mourning. There's an aspect of mamash tapping into.
Well, that is interesting.
Building a base of Mikdash.
It is interesting. Well, this Shabbos, I was davening Shacharis in the park. I was in the zone with Matalis, and then this woman walked into the park. It's a really big park, big grassy park. But this woman walked into the park. She was looked very religious, big tichel, long clothing, and then what caught my eye was she was stood under a tree and took off her shoes. I think she was wearing blunts, right? I saw them sitting there, and she just starts walking back and forth in the grass in her bare feet. And I was really curious as well, davening, but it was just, what's going on over here? And she walks back and forth like 10 times, and she puts her shoes back on, and she cruises out of the park.
Grounded.
Yeah, like Shimon used to tell us about grounding.
It's a big
connecting to the ground.
Yeah. It's a good way to just relax. Just get reconnected. Shoes off.
Yes, I noticed Yoda.
Yeah, it's good to be connected. It's good to be aligned. It's good to definitely it's a good feeling also just getting your toes in the grass. Nice.
For some people with sensory issues can't handle grass and sand and stuff. And by the way, the grass in the park over there is like, some parts of it are really nice and some parts of it are like, so yeah. I think it was some kind of avoda, and I'm really curious to learn more about it. But we're just touching the edge of it right now. Yeah. Okay, where were we? Shoes, Lubavitcher Rebbe. So back to that. So you're saying is Malcolm Kadosh, you want to take the shoes off, you want to connect, you want to be more present and grounded.
I think that's what that's what it's different. You asked me about it then, and that's kind of what it seems to be then. And then also, like we literally found this in Sasser like the next day. Actually, it was that night.
It was in the Bnei Yissaschar or one of the other Sfarim? Didn't you go to a Sfarim sale?
Yeah, so that night, well, this was a crazy day. That night, we ended up back when we got to Muncie.
I passed out, of course.
Yeah, you passed out.
You guys went out.
Yeah, I don't know how you go to sleep the first night there. It's like so exciting. And so Abe came there and he's like, "There's a farm sale." I'm like, "Oh my god, there's no way I cannot go to this farm sale. It's $2 a book." I didn't realize what was going on for the entire time that we were there, and that Abe's really the only guy that's there every day collecting all the stuff that I want. But we went that night, Nancy, Abe, and myself, and it was great. We ended up all sitting there, and then we all falling asleep while Abe was still looking for books. But those were some. It was really nice getting those books. Anyhow, it was in one of those books that night. So anyhow, back to the experience. I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed the fact that I went into Lubavitcher Rebbe and then read my letter. Like there was something about it's something very powerful, which I probably don't do enough. I don't know, like reading my own journal. I don't really do it. I kind of just write in it, and very rarely, maybe I don't know if I've ever really read.
Do you listen to your own WhatsApp voice notes after you record them? Sorry for interrupting.
No. So I not really. I mean, because most WhatsApp voice notes I'm using to tell something, unless let's say I'm telling over a tire or something. I want to hear what it sounded like. But I do voice recordings. I love recording things. I love recording good conversations. This is actually great. I have a reason to record conversations, but I do enjoy recording good conversations. Or sometimes I'll have a good thought, and I'll just immediately pull out my voice recorder, play it into there, and then listen to it again. Even one of the chaburas, I just had this great idea, and I was like, boom! I just recorded it, and then I'll play it again and think about, okay, what am I going to do? How are we going to tie it together?
I have this funny thing, right? Always listen to my voice notes because I guess.
It had nothing to do with the fact that you do funny accents all the time.
Maybe it's a positive, but I think it's just I want to make sure that the message I was trying to give over actually is being given over. So
that's interesting.
So when you were reading the letter, what was it? Was that part of the kavanah? Or
no,
not at all?
I did it because I was told to do that.
Right.
But it was cool. I felt. It felt like I didn't get enough out there. I'll be honest with you. When I was writing the letter, it was kind of like there were certain points that you just have to hit, and I didn't have enough time to write. I mean, to write it takes a lot longer to write than to talk. It would have been nicer if I could just do a voice note and then play the voice note and then delete the voice note. Yeah. Maybe we should do that by a tzaddik. That would be a much more enjoyable avodah for me because I could have spoken for. I
definitely had friends who held the phone by Rabbi Nachman and Uman and had people talking.
Oh, that and by the way,
it seems really weird to me.
So I'm into that. I'm totally into that.
Maybe. I don't know. Something about it seems weird to me. I'm not sure.
The point is that one of the things that we believe that a tzaddik did is that he used physicality to make a connection and to create a state of alignment where now it's connected. So now if we can talk through a phone and be connected to someone on the other side of the world, then why can't I use that as well?
Maybe. I don't know. Just something about being there. It's like the spiritual connection. I feel like I could be totally way off. This is just how I feel. I feel like you're not there. You're not connecting to the soul. There's a phone, your voice. I don't know, it feels almost spiritually disembodied.
Okay, I do agree with you. I'm not totally taking the other side. There is definitely a part to that. You're not there and is disconnected. On the other hand, and this, by the way, this is something that I've been using a lot with this is kind of part of my Weltanschauung on how I kind of see the world.
Das ist deine Weltanschauung?
Yeah. Like when people go a phone call or a video call is not the same as being there with the person. Agreed. But it's awesome.
Right. What's better than nothing? That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's awesome. You get on a video call, you get on a WhatsApp video call, you get on Skype, you get on Zoom, and you video call with somebody. If you appreciate it for what it is a connection. Just you don't have to always compare everything to what it's not and say, well, it's not the same. Great, so it's not that, but at least we can connect. And I feel like
Fair point, dog. Fair point.
So I feel like that's that's kind of how it is. Like for somebody, let's say, who's not by a tzaddik, and you pull out a phone, there's just a simple feeling of like, hey, my words are being expressed there, and whatever that means. I mean, there's definitely some level of connection there, and I like appreciating that for what it is.
Also, maybe from a psychological point of view, I mean, part of it of being by a tzaddik is the psychological aspect, where I'm aware of standing in the presence of someone who's so great, right? You're in the presence of someone great, you change the way you behave and think and act. It just changes you psychologically. So if you're on the phone with somebody and in your mind, I'm in the presence, I'm talking to Rebbe Nachman, so it changes the way you talk.
Right.
Whether or not I think that spiritually it's disconnected or not, but it definitely.
Well, let me ask you: do you sit differently, or have different body language when you're on the phone with different people?
Obviously.
Okay. I mean, do you have an example of it? I mean, I know for myself, like there's certain people that I'll definitely stand up to talk on the phone with. Sure. If I talk to them a lot, then I won't. I actually had a really cool experience one time with Moshe Weinberger. I got a phone call from him, and I had sent him this whole big email. I got a phone call from him, and he's like, hi, this is Moshe. And I'm like, wait, and I like listen, and he goes, it's okay. You'll calm down in about 30 seconds. He also introduced himself as Moshe. Hi, this is Moshe. Yeah, oh, Moshe who? Moshe Weinberger. And I nearly lost everything. And then I jumped up, but then there's no way that I could sit on my chair when I'm talking to Moshe. And or any of my band, except obviously when you talk to let's say a band that I'm close with, Rabbi Gersey, when I talk to them a lot, many times we're working on things or whatever, but I'll be sitting down. But that general feeling, even when talk to Abba, like I'll stand up because it's like there's a certain level of respect, even though he doesn't see me. It's not about that. It's about how you hold yourself. It's about how you sit. It's about how you do things, because there is a level of connection there.
Yeah. I'll tell you though, when I worked in sales, like we Davka would do the opposite. Like you'd be calling up a really big CEO of like a $100 million company. Like that's when you would sit back and put your feet up and like on purpose to like feel like, no, I'm in control. I'm okay. I could do this. It's just a person.
Right. That's true. I'll tell you one of the funny things that I did when I was doing sales. I stood on my desk for some calls.
I used to do that also. Yeah, for sure.
And because it's first of all, you also know that about me. I have this thing that sometimes I just like to stand on high things. I'm like, were you there that night in the house? And I just jumped on. I mean, since I'm a kid, I love doing it. I guess I like always wanted to be 6'7" and play small forward for the next.
Everyone wants to be high, man.
Right. I go well. So that was the truth. The truth was that there were sometimes I just stood on the desk, and I was in power stands, and I was just making phone calls.
Yeah.
Like something just go.
No, that's true too, though. Sometimes when you want to get energy in sales and you want to, it's all about how you hold yourself. There's so much involved in that.
Yeah, this is an NLP, hacking the nefesh. This is, we're definitely going to get into this. There's a lot to talk about here.
Oh yeah. Well, where were we? How did we get involved?
I don't know, but this is getting late, and we're gonna have to figure out how much longer we're gonna go tonight. But yeah, I think we should finish up the story, with being by the Rebbe, and
wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. After all the whiskey, never mind. Moving on.
It's actually been quite nice, I must say. This bourbon on the rocks is hitting the spot for me tonight.
It is.
Yeah, I hope that you guys also filled up your glasses and joined us for this little journey. You ever have that? I remember used to be like watching movies, especially when I was in the dorm room, where you could just smoke inside and whatever. Like if we were watching a movie and like they sparked a cigarette, we all just sparked up. And it's like, just after like, we just all light a cigarette. It's like they're drinking whiskey. You want to be holding a glass of whiskey in your hands when you're watching a scene, somebody drinking a whiskey.
Yep. It can get dangerous with some movies.
Yeah, start holding guns, shooting people.
I didn't mean that. I just meant like drink a lot.
Oh, I thought you were going to go a different direction. That we can't do on this.
Nope.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. Back to the Rebbe. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
So you went in and you read the letter.
So I went in, I read the letter.
I sidetracked you with my question about WhatsApp voice notes.
Right. Okay, yeah. So I read the letter, and I liked the fact that I ripped it up. By the way, knowing that I was going to rip it up enabled me to write more stuff. Like there were certain things that like I probably wouldn't write, and I don't even know where, you know what I mean? But the fact that I know I'm going to rip it up right now, that kind of is like was a cool feeling to like be able to put some things into words. Like even in my journal, which is like a very private place, sometimes it's hard to get like some real like deep internal things. I think I had like one or two things that I put in there that were really personal, with my family and things like that. That because I knew that I was going to rip it up right away. It gave me that space. That was a nice thing. And I just ripped it up, put it in, and that's when I kind of opened up. I stood there, and I kind of wanted to walk around. It's funny, at the women's side, we're by the headstones, and I wanted to go there. I enjoy, touching the headstone, leaning on the headstone, opening myself up. In some places you can do, what do you call it? Ishtadchus. And I
sprawling on the grave.
Yeah, and it's a very powerful experience. It's if you've never done it, it kind of seems weird.
Super
weird. And once you do it, though, and you open, you kind of just like I literally just go through. I open up, and you open up to allow and be like, hey, I want to be connected to something bigger. I want to be connected to Hashem. I want to be connected to my family. I want to be connected to my friends. And you want to open yourself up, and it's very vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable, and it's very opening. And I wasn't able to do that there. Because it was like there was women there, and like I couldn't walk around. And sometimes I'll even do it. Like you can even, it's like if you're a master hugger, you can hug somebody just in a handshake, maybe even in a wink if you're in a good zone. But hishtadchus also you could do sometimes just one hand on the kever. And so I didn't get to do that, but it was very mellow. And I think that when we left, we had a coffee and a marav. And I liked the coffee. I think the coffee I had a tea. That's
cup of tea.
It was a cup of tea by the Rebbe. And we stood there and we just schmoozed for a couple minutes. And it was simple banter, simple, just schmoozing. It wasn't anything serious. And that sometimes when like it settles.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling of like, it's like you buy the tzaddik and it like settles and it's like boom. Vayhi chalom, like it was an experience, and even by the Nevi'im, it says like, and it was a vision. Like that's when it's like, okay, this was a moment. That's what kind of hit for me. And then we davened Marav, and it was nice.
It was. I didn't have the same experience as you. I kind of felt a little bit out of my element reading the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to find something that was my element. So I pulled out a Tikkun HaKlali and I read a Tikkun HaKlali, which was I feel more at home with. But I did it and it was cool. It was cool to be out of my box a little. I like getting out of the box.
Yeah.
I like doing different things. And yeah, it was a soft landing in the States. It was like, okay, I'm ready to go do this. I'm happy I came here and found the safe zone. And I'm happy I was by the Rebbe.
Yeah. I must say, I kind of want to still jump into something else right now, because it was the next day, I think we went to the Ribnitzer and Uncle.
Yep.
And it was very connected. Like, I think there was definitely some level of like hamshacha from each one of those experiences. So, I mean, if you're down to just go a couple more minutes to talk about that. So basically, when we went the next day to the Ribnitzer, right? It was the next day.
Yep.
And it was cold. It was nice being in America, feeling the cold. And then I had like my, my coat and my hat, and we went to the Ribnitzer. And and it was nice. I spent many hours by the Ribnitzer.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, brought many chevra there. That was the place, and it is the place in Muncie. If you need some Eretz Yisrael air, and you need to just have like, I need to have my heart open so I can just talk and be connected to Hashem for 5 minutes. That's the place to go, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
And when I originally went there, it was nobody knew about it.
Yeah, it was just the kever.
It was just a kever, and not a lot of people were there. And then over the years,
it was like a secret of months. It was like a secret treasure back in the day.
And then it started filling up even more. Like it started filling up. Like it started being that Erev Rosh Chodesh, a ton of people, and then it got to the point where it just like blew up. Like everybody was there all the time. So going there was great to get back there. And then, like you just mentioned before, like you did a taking Klali to get into your zone. That's like I just went into my zone. So first I got there, we bumped into Connie Wiener. Right. And that was great to see him, and like he's like talking, Eretz Yisrael talk. Yep. So hope that you make it here safely, and yeah, Bezrat Hashem with goodness, should all make it home. But it was great. We bumped in. We had like a good like sichas chaverim. It was nice to see a face, get a hug, share an experience. And then I just jumped straight into my thing. I had my film that I kind of enjoy, and I was doing it loud and like listening to the vibrations, and then sometimes I was just like singing some of the psukim as I'm doing it, and I was just like, I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to be by the Ribnitzer, so good to be here. And that was really good, just davening, and just really, it was like a real opening moment, and then we went, and it was a bunch of us together, right? It was you and Bensi and Khani, and then Abe somehow. Oh, that's what happened. Right, because we found that afterwards. Because Sani posted a picture of us there, and then Abe saw it, and suddenly Abe's just. I could turn around when I finished davening. I turned around, and then it's like it was 2 of you before, and now suddenly there's 3 of you there.
Right. I was just davening. I was doing like walking around doing a display of this, and I'm like, is that Abe? Who called him?
Like he's got his little antenna up for everybody for who's by the Ribnitzer, and so that was really special. Then and then we got to go to Uncle, and now I want to hear your experience as well. But going to Uncle for me, I don't know if I'm really ready to express in words, but really
might
special.
Be not for public consumption.
Yes, it's probably not, but it's. We'll have to maybe we should do a whole podcast on Uncle.
We should definitely.
Oh my God, that's a good move. We're gonna have to do, because Uncle was, a person that he was for everybody.
Right. The world needs to know about Uncle.
Yes, and I think that the people that know about Uncle want to hear more about Uncle. So Uncle, we're gonna have to do a podcast for Uncle. Let's run a show. But it was really special there. And then also I went to my friend Shia, who passed away a few years ago, and that was the first time I made it there. The last time that I was in America 3.5 years ago, I also went to go find Shia, and I couldn't find this caver. I didn't know exactly where it was. And I was running around, and I was like yelling, Shia, where are you? I couldn't find them. But then this time I was able to be there.
It was very powerful being by Shia, but not just by Shia. There were a lot of people buried in that cemetery that are meaningful to us, to me, and to us. And
Michael Eisenberg,
right, Michael, and a
lot of people that we know.
Yeah, but it felt good being there. It really did.
Yeah.
And then there was that. We have to find out more about that. What was that tzaddik? There was a caver there
next to the Ribnitzer.
No, near Uncle.
Near Uncle.
Raice, the New Yorker.
Oh yeah.
What was his name? Raice, the New Yorker.
Yeah, what was that about?
Right, Abe said we got to go down by his cave.
Right, we went down there, but it was.
And I had a very
Yeah, what happened to you there? I don't think you ever even told me.
I went there and something just opened up, and something deep just poured out of me. It was really cool. And I was like, who is this person and why am I here? I have to find out more. So we have to find out more about Raice, the New Yorker.
All right. Raice, the New Yorker. Yeah, it's interesting that that's Mama Shama's caver.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like, it wasn't like that's who he was known as. And Abe did, right? He said, like, go over there. That was cool. And I saw that you had that. I saw, like, you suddenly just started, like, tearing up and crying. And
Well, the whole morning was very emotional.
it was.
But it was cool.
So maybe just give us, tell me a little bit and tell us a little bit about what happened, by the Ribnitzer, what it was like, Uncle.
Well, it's really time to wrap it up. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed the fact that our first night and day in America on our trip was spent by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, by the Ribnitzer Rebbe, by Uncle, by other dear Tzaddikim that we know in Muncie. Like, we came and we connected to the Tzaddikim that are there. And the Tzaddik, it's funny, but like you and I both feel this way, that dead Tzaddikim are so alive. So alive. You go to Kvarim and there's such energy there. Like everybody, we don't have to convince people. People who've been to kivrei Tzaddikim know this. They're so alive. And the Tzaddikim that are buried there in America are definitely the Tzaddikim that are there for the Jews there. Like Rabbi Nachman said, I need buried in Uman for the Jews in Uman.
Right.
The Tzaddikim buried there are there because, you didn't need a connection. They need a channel. And it's funny because I always feel like I can trust dead Tzaddikim better because they can't mess up anymore.
Hashem said that too.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just us. Hashem said you can't trust a live person. Even
but once you die, once you're dead, you're good to go. So it was cool to come, and before we connected to the Jews of Muncie and the living Jews, which was awesome. Like, let's connect to the spiritual channels that are coming in here. What's going on? Let's go daven. Let's connect. Mamash Bechenas Eretz Yisrael was when you go to Tzaddikim, especially the Ribnitzer, Mamash Eretz Yisrael. So that was a good intro to America. It was a good way to come in.
Yes, it was. Very special.
It's definitely time to wrap it up, though. Huh?
Amen. This was special.
Thanks.
All right. Be blessed.